She was living alone for being disabled. Then a cowboy knocked. Holding his dying son, the woman had lived in a small house at the edge of town for so many years that people barely remembered when she first arrived. The road that led to her place was narrow and quiet, lined with tall grass that swayed in the wind and old wooden fences that leaned from age. Most days, the only sounds she heard were birds in the trees and the soft hum of the breeze passing through the fields. Her life moved slowly, one careful step at a time. She woke up every morning just before the sun rose. The sky would still be dark blue, and a thin line of orange light would sit on the horizon. She liked that moment because it felt peaceful, like the world was holding its breath. Getting out of bed took time. Her body did not move the way she wished it would. Some days were easier and some days were heavy, but she always told herself the same thing. Today is another day, and I will face it. She used a wooden chair near her bed to help her stand. The floor was cold under her feet, and she would pause for a moment, holding onto the chair until she felt steady. Then she would walk slowly to the small kitchen. The room was simple: a table, 2 chairs, a stove, and a window that looked out toward the open land. She boiled water for tea and waited, watching steam rise and fade into the air. The town was not far, but it felt far away from her life. People passed her on the road sometimes, offering small smiles or quick nods, but few stopped to talk. It was not that they were unkind. They were busy with their own lives, their own problems, their own plans. Over time, the woman became used to being alone. Loneliness was like a quiet guest that never left. She did not like it, but she learned how to live with it. She kept herself busy with small tasks. She swept the floor, washed her clothes by hand, and tended a small garden behind the house. The garden was her favorite place. She grew simple plants, mostly vegetables and a few flowers. When she knelt down to touch the soil, she felt connected to something real and alive. The plants did not care about her condition or her slow movements. They only needed water, light, and care. Sometimes she thought about her past. She remembered a time when her life was full of noise and people. There were voices in the house, laughter in the evenings, and plans for the future. Then, slowly, things changed. Some people moved away. Some relationships faded. Her health became worse, and the world around her seemed to move faster than she could. One by one, the connections she had slipped away until only a few remained, and even those became rare. She did not blame anyone. Life had a way of pulling people in different directions. Still, there were moments when she sat by the window and watched the road, wondering if someone might come by just to say hello. Most days, no one did. That evening began like any other. The sky grew dark, and clouds gathered far away. The air felt heavy, and the wind picked up. She finished her simple dinner and cleaned the dishes. The house felt quiet, almost too quiet, as the first drops of rain tapped against the roof. She liked the sound of rain. It made her feel less alone, like the world was keeping her company. She lit a small lamp and sat in her chair, holding a book she had read many times before. The words were familiar, but she still liked the comfort they brought. Outside, the rain grew stronger. The wind howled and the trees bent and swayed. She stood up slowly and went to check the windows, making sure they were closed tightly. Just as she turned back toward her chair, she heard it. A knock. At first, she thought she imagined it. No one ever came to her door, especially not during a storm. She stood still, listening. The rain beat against the walls, and the wind rushed past the house. Then she heard it again. A clear, firm knock. Her heart started to beat faster. A mix of fear and curiosity filled her chest. She walked toward the door, each step careful and slow. Through the small window in the door, she could see a shadow moving in the rain. She opened the door just a little, keeping the chain on. Cold air rushed inside, along with the sound of the storm. Standing there was a man in a wide-brimmed hat and a long coat. Soaked from head to toe, his face was lined with worry and exhaustion. In his arms he held a young boy. The boy was limp, his head resting against the man's shoulder. His clothes were wet, and his skin looked pale in the dim light. "Please," the man said, his voice shaking. "I don't know where else to go." The woman's fear melted into concern. She quickly unhooked the chain and opened the door wide. The man stepped inside, careful not to slip on the wet floor. She closed the door behind him, shutting out the storm.
"Put him here," she said, pointing to the couch.
The man laid the boy down gently. The woman knelt beside them, her movements slow but steady. She touched the boy's forehead. It felt warm. His breathing was shallow, rising and falling in small, uneven movements. "What happened?" she asked.
"We were traveling," the man said. "He started feeling weak a few hours ago."
Then he just collapsed. "I tried to find help, but the roads are flooded, and the clinic in town was closed." The woman nodded. She went to the kitchen and brought back a clean cloth and a bowl of water. She gently wiped the boy's face and hands, trying to cool him down. The man watched her, his eyes filled with worry and hope. "I'm not a doctor," she said softly, "but I'll do what I can." She checked the boy's pulse the way she remembered being taught long ago. It was there, faint but steady. She covered him with a blanket and asked the man to sit down. The storm outside raged on, but inside the house time seemed to slow. The woman moved carefully, bringing warm tea for the man and water for the boy. She spoke to the boy in a gentle voice, telling him he was safe, even though she did not know if he could hear her. The man finally took off his hat and ran a hand through his wet hair. "It's just been me and him for years," he said quietly. "His mother passed away when he was very young. I promised her I'd keep him safe."
The woman looked at him and saw more than a tired traveler.
She saw a father who had carried his world in his arms through a storm, searching for a door that would open. "You did the right thing coming here," she said. As the night went on, the boy's breathing stayed shallow but steady. The woman sat nearby, refusing to leave his side. Her body ached, but she ignored it. In that moment, nothing mattered more than the small life resting on her couch. She thought about all the times people had looked at her and seen only what she could not do. Tonight, she was doing something that mattered. She was helping. She was needed. Outside, the storm began to calm. The rain softened, and the wind grew quieter. The house felt warmer, filled with a sense of purpose the woman had not felt in a long time. The man stood up and walked to the window, looking out at the dark sky. "I don't know how to thank you," he said. She gave a small smile. "You already have," she replied. "You knocked." As the night continued, the woman stayed awake, watching the boy's chest rise and fall. Every breath felt like a small victory. She did not know what the morning would bring, but she knew one thing. This night had changed something inside her. The night did not end quickly. The woman stayed awake in her chair beside the couch, watching the boy's chest rise and fall in slow, uneven breaths. The small lamp on the table cast soft light across the room. Shadows moved on the walls as the flame inside the lamp flickered. Outside, the rain still fell, but it was lighter now, like the storm was tired too. The man sat on the edge of another chair, his elbows resting on his knees, his hands clasped together. He stared at the floor most of the time. Every few minutes he looked up at his son, as if checking to make sure the boy was still there. The woman's body ached from sitting in the same position for so long. Her back felt stiff and her legs were heavy, but she did not move. She had learned how to live with pain. This kind of pain felt small compared to the fear she saw in the man's eyes. At one point the boy stirred. His lips moved as if he was trying to say something, but no sound came out. The woman leaned closer and spoke softly. "You're safe," she said. "You're not alone." The boy's eyes opened just a little. They were dull and tired, but for a moment they focused on her face. He tried to smile, but it faded quickly. Then his eyes closed again, and he drifted back into a weak sleep. The man let out a breath he seemed to have been holding. He rubbed his face with both hands. "I thought I was losing him," he said in a low voice. "Out there on the road, with the rain and the dark, I didn't know what to do."
The woman nodded.
"You didn't give up. That matters."
He looked at her for the first time in a long while. Really looked at her. Most people wouldn't have opened the door, he said. She gave a small shrug. Most people don't live where I do. There was a quiet moment between them. The sound of rain filled the space. Then the man stood up and walked toward the window. He wiped a small, clear spot on the glass with his sleeve and looked outside. When the sun comes up, I'll try to get him to the clinic, he said, if the road is clear. She joined him slowly, standing beside the window. The fields outside were dark, but she could see the shapes of trees and fences. The storm had left everything wet and shining under the faint light of the clouds. The road near the old bridge floods easily, she said. If it's still high, there's another path through the fields. It's rough, but it stays dry. He turned to her, surprised. You know the area well. She smiled a little. When you don't go far, you learn what's close. They went back to the boy. The woman checked his forehead again. It still felt warm, but not as hot as before. She felt a small wave of hope rise inside her. She went to the kitchen and warmed some water. She mixed it with a bit of salt and sugar, the way she remembered from long ago. When it cooled, she dipped a clean cloth into the bowl and gently touched it to the boy's lips, letting a few drops of water slide into his mouth. The boy swallowed weakly. That's good, she whispered. The man watched every movement as if trying to memorize what she was doing. You've done this before, he said. Not like this, she replied, but I've had people take care of me. I remember how they helped. The night slowly turned into early morning. The rain stopped, and the wind faded into a soft breeze. The sky outside the window began to change color, moving from dark gray to pale blue. Birds started to sing somewhere in the distance. The boy's breathing became more steady. It was still weak, but it no longer sounded like he was struggling for every breath. The woman felt a deep sense of relief, though she did not let herself relax too much. The man finally leaned back in his chair and closed his eyes for a moment. He did not fall asleep, but the tension in his shoulders eased just a little. When the sun rose, light filled the small house. The woman stood up slowly, stretching her stiff legs. She went to the door and opened it. Fresh air rushed inside. The ground outside was muddy, and small puddles reflected the sky. She looked down the road. It was wet, but it did not seem flooded. It might be clear enough to pass, she said. The man stood up quickly. I'll get the truck ready. He stepped outside and she followed as best she could. The truck was parked near the fence. It was old and covered in dirt, but it looked strong, like it had traveled many long roads. The man opened the back and laid down a blanket. Together, slowly and carefully, they carried the boy outside. The woman's arms shook from the effort, but she did not stop. The boy felt light in her hands, too light for a child his age. They placed him gently in the back of the truck. The man climbed into the driver's seat and started the engine. It coughed and sputtered, then came to life. Before he drove off, he leaned out the window. I don't know how to repay you, he said. She shook her head. Just take him somewhere safe. He nodded, and the truck rolled down the road, leaving muddy tracks behind. The woman stood there for a long time, watching until the truck disappeared from view. The quiet returned, but it felt different now. The silence was not heavy like before. It felt calm. She went back inside and sat down in her chair. Her body finally felt how tired it was. Her hands trembled, and her eyes burned from staying open all night. She leaned her head back and closed her eyes, letting herself rest for a few minutes. Her thoughts wandered. She thought about the boy's small smile, about the man's worried face, about the way they had looked at her like she mattered. She had not felt that way in a long time. She woke up later to the sound of a knock. This time it did not scare her. She stood up slowly and went to the door. When she opened it, she saw a woman from town standing there holding a basket.
I heard what you did, the woman said.
Someone at the clinic told my sister, and she told me. The woman in the house looked surprised.
The clinic?
Yes, the visitor said. The boy made it there. He's going to be okay. A warm feeling spread through the woman's chest. She felt tears in her eyes, but she smiled. "That's good," she said softly. The visitor held out the basket. "This is for you. It's not much, but we wanted to say thank you." Inside the basket were fresh bread, fruit, and a small jar of honey. The woman took it carefully. "You didn't have to do this." The visitor smiled. "Maybe not, but we wanted to." Word traveled fast in a small town. Over the next few days, more people stopped by. Some brought food. Some just came to talk. They asked how she was doing, if she needed anything, if she was feeling well. At first it felt strange. She was not used to company. She did not know what to say all the time. But she listened, and sometimes she laughed, and sometimes she simply enjoyed having another person in the room. One afternoon, the man returned. He walked up the path to her door, looking cleaner and less tired than before. The boy walked beside him, holding his hand. The child still looked weak, but his eyes were bright and there was color in his face. The woman opened the door, and for a moment no one spoke. Then the boy smiled. "Thank you," he said. The man placed a hand on his son's shoulder. He wanted to come as soon as the doctor said he could walk. The woman knelt down slowly, meeting the boy at eye level. "I'm glad you're better." The boy nodded. "I'm not scared anymore." Her heart felt full when she heard those words. They sat together in the small house, talking about simple things. The man told her about their travels, about the places they had seen, about the long roads and open skies. She told them about her garden, about the birds that came every morning, about the way the sun looked over the fields. It was not a grand conversation. It was quiet and simple, but it felt important. When they left that day, the man turned at the door. "We're staying nearby for a while," he said. "If you ever need anything, you can find us." She nodded. "I will." As she watched them walk away, she realized something had changed. Her house was still small. Her body still moved slowly. Her life was still simple. The days after the man and his son began to visit felt different from anything the woman had known before. Morning light still came through her window the same way, and the birds still sang in the trees. But now there was a sense of waiting in the air. She did not rush through her chores anymore. She took her time. Not because she was tired, but because she wondered who might walk down the narrow road that day. One morning, as she watered her garden, she heard footsteps in the grass. She turned and saw the boy standing near the fence, holding a small wooden toy in his hands. The man stood a few steps behind him, smiling quietly. "Good morning," the woman said. "Good morning," the boy replied. His voice was stronger now, clear and bright. The woman wiped her hands on her apron and walked toward them. "You're early today." The man nodded. He wanted to see the plants grow. The boy looked down at the garden. "I've never seen food grow out of the ground before." She laughed softly. "It's slow, but it's worth watching." She showed him the small green leaves pushing through the soil. He knelt down carefully, touching the dirt with his fingers like it was something special. The man watched, leaning against the fence, his face relaxed in a way she had not seen before. They spent the morning together. The boy helped carry water in a small cup, careful not to spill. The woman told him which plants needed more sun and which liked the shade. He listened closely, nodding as if he was learning a great secret. Later they sat at the table inside the house. The woman poured tea for the man and milk for the boy. The room felt warm, filled with soft voices and quiet laughter. "Traveling all the time can be lonely," the man said. "I didn't realize how much until we stayed in one place for a while," the woman nodded. "Staying in one place can be lonely too." They shared a small smile. As the days passed, the boy grew stronger. He ran in the field near the house, chasing birds and laughing when they flew away. The man fixed a loose board on her fence and repaired a small step near the door that had been broken for years. "You don't have to do that," she said. "I want to," he replied. "It feels good to help where I can." The town began to change, too. People who once passed her house without a glance now stopped to wave. Some came by to check on her garden. Others asked about the boy and his travels. One afternoon, a group of children from town came with the boy. They stood by the fence, shy at first. The woman brought out small apples from her basket and gave one to each of them. They sat in the grass, eating and talking about simple things like their favorite animals and places they wanted to see one day. The woman listened more than she spoke. The sound of children's voices filled her yard, and for the first time in years, her home felt like part of the town instead of a place apart from it. That evening, after everyone left, she sat alone in her chair and thought about how much her life had changed in such a short time. She felt happy, but also unsure. She had learned not to expect too much from the future. Life had taught her that things could disappear as quickly as they arrived. The man and the boy visited the next day, and the day after that. But one morning, the road stayed empty. She waited by the window longer than she meant to. The sun climbed higher in the sky, and still, no one came. A quiet worry settled in her chest. In the afternoon, she decided to walk toward town. It took effort, and she had to stop often to rest, but she felt like she needed to know what was happening. When she reached the small store near the center of town, she saw the man's truck parked outside. Relief washed over her. She went inside and found him talking to the shop owner. "There you are," he said when he saw her. The boy ran over and hugged her gently. "We thought you might not come today," the boy said. She smiled. "I could say the same." The man looked serious for a moment. "We've been thinking about leaving." Her heart sank. She tried not to show it, but her hands tightened around the strap of her bag. "Leaving?" she asked. He nodded. "There's work farther west. A ranch that needs help. It could be a good chance for us." She took a breath. "That sounds good." He studied her face. "You don't look like you think it's good." She looked down. "I'm just not used to people staying." The man was quiet for a moment. "We're not leaving today," he said. "But we will, eventually." They walked back to her house together. The boy kicked a small stone along the path, lost in thought. That evening they sat in the yard, watching the sky turn orange and pink as the sun went down. The boy leaned against a man's side. The woman sat nearby, wrapped in a light blanket. "Do you like traveling?" she asked the boy. He shrugged. "Sometimes, but I like it here." The man looked at her. "So do I." The woman felt a mix of warmth and sadness. She knew she could not ask them to stay. Their lives were bigger than her small house and quiet road. The next few days felt heavy. Every visit felt like it might be the last. She found herself noticing small things, like the way the boy laughed when he tripped over his own feet, or the way the man paused at the door before leaving, like he did not want to go. One morning the boy arrived alone, walking slowly down the path. "Where's your father?" she asked. "He went to town to talk to the ranch owner again," the boy said. "He said I could stay here for a while." They sat together in the garden. The boy pulled a small piece of paper from his pocket.
"I made you something," he said.
It was a simple drawing. It showed a small house, a garden, a tall man, a little boy, and a woman standing in the middle. Above them was a bright sun. The woman felt tears in her eyes.
"It's beautiful," she said. The boy smiled proudly.
Later that day the man returned. He sat down heavily on the step by the door. "The ranch job is real," he said. "They want me to start next week." The woman nodded. "That's good news." He looked up at her. "I don't want to leave like this, like we're just passing through your life."
She sat beside him. "You're not just passing."
"You've already changed it." He was quiet for a long time. Then he said, "We could write. Or visit. The road isn't closed forever." She smiled. "I'd like that." That night the woman lay in bed staring at the ceiling. She thought about how her life had been before the knock on the door, and how it was now. She realized something important. Even if the man and the boy left, the change they brought would stay. The town saw her differently. She saw herself differently. The next morning, she woke up with a new feeling in her chest. It was not just waiting anymore. The morning after the man and the boy had returned from the town felt unusually bright. Sunlight streamed through the small windows of the woman's house, spilling warmth onto the wooden floor. She moved slowly, as she always did, but there was a sense of purpose behind every step. Today was not just another ordinary day. Today, she felt a quiet anticipation, as if something important was about to happen. She stepped into her small garden, her fingers brushing against the leaves and stems of the plants. Everything had grown a little taller since the last time she had seen them. Tiny buds were beginning to form on the flowers, and the vegetables glistened with the morning dew. It was a small world she cared for, one that she could touch and nurture, and it gave her a strange sense of power, proof that even small actions could matter. From the corner of her eye she noticed movement down the road. It was the boy, running lightly, his small feet kicking up dust and gravel. His laughter carried through the air, bright and free. Behind him the man followed, slower and steadier, but with a smile that reached his eyes. Seeing them together brought a warmth she had not felt in years, a reminder that connection could exist even after loneliness had seemed permanent. The boy reached the gate and waved. "Come on! Come see!" he shouted. His excitement was contagious. The woman hobbled forward as fast as she could, her legs working harder than usual, but her heart lifted with every step. "What is it?" she asked when she reached them. "You'll see," the boy said. He darted into the garden, motioning for her to follow. The man leaned against the fence, hands in his pockets, watching with a quiet satisfaction. In the middle of the garden, a small wooden frame had been set up. The boy had collected stones from the field and placed them around it, forming a little circle. Inside the frame were flowers he had picked from the nearby meadows. The colors were bright, yellow, purple, red, and they looked almost alive against the green of the garden.
"I made this for you," the boy said proudly. "It's a garden just for you."
So you can always have something beautiful to look at, even if no one else comes by. The woman felt tears prick at her eyes.
It's beautiful, she whispered.
She bent down and touched the flowers gently, careful not to crush them. "Thank you." The man spoke then, his voice quiet but steady. "He wanted you to know how much you've helped us. You didn't just save him, you gave him hope, and that matters more than anything." She nodded, unsure of what to say. Words felt inadequate for the feelings swelling inside her. She had lived so long in quiet, doing small things that seemed invisible. And now here were two lives that had changed because of her actions, lives that had recognized her worth without hesitation. The days that followed brought a rhythm she had never known. The boy visited every morning, eager to help her in the garden, or to sit on the porch and talk about the small wonders he discovered in the fields. The man sometimes stayed to lend a hand, repairing fences, fixing tools, and carrying water. Each visit was different, but each one left her home warmer and more alive. One afternoon they were all working in the garden together. The boy was planting seeds with careful attention, his little hands patting the soil down. The woman knelt beside him, showing him the proper way to space the seeds. The man stood nearby, holding a watering can, waiting for the right moment to water without washing the seeds away. "You have a good touch," she said to the boy. "The seeds will grow strong because you are careful," the boy beamed. "I want them to be perfect."
You don't have to be perfect, she said softly.
"You just have to care." That evening they sat on the porch, watching the sun dip behind the hills. The sky was painted in shades of orange and pink, the colors reflecting on the fields and the small wooden fences. The boy leaned against the man, his head resting lightly on his shoulder, and the woman sat a little apart, but close enough to feel part of this new, quiet family.
"You know," the man said after a moment, "we won't stay forever."
"The ranch job is real, and I'll have to go eventually. I don't want you to think we are abandoning you."
The woman took a slow breath. "I understand," she said.
Life moves on. People go where they need to go. He nodded, though she could see a hint of sorrow in his eyes. "We just don't want to leave things as they are now. This has been too important." They sat in silence for a while, listening to the wind rustle through the trees and the soft hum of insects in the air. It was a peaceful moment, but it carried a weight she could feel in her chest, the knowledge that time with them was precious, fragile, and temporary. The next morning the man brought news. The ranch is ready for me to start next week, but we don't have to leave yet.
There's still time. The woman felt relief, but also a quiet anxiety.
She had grown used to their presence. Even a few days without them seemed impossible to imagine. They spent the week together in a simple routine. The boy helped her cook, setting the table and carrying plates carefully. The man repaired the small roof over the porch, tightening loose boards and sweeping away leaves. They laughed at small mistakes, joked about the weather, and shared stories from their travels. One day the boy asked a question that surprised her. "Will you come visit us?" She thought for a moment, then smiled.
"If I can. Of course."
His face lit up. "Promise?" "I promise," she said, and it felt like more than words. It was a bond being formed, one that would stretch across distance and time. Evenings became quiet but comfortable. They sat by the small fire in the living room, talking in soft voices. The woman shared stories of her youth, of times when the town had seemed friendlier and busier, and the man listened, nodding, understanding the loneliness she had endured. The boy asked questions, curious about everything, from the way flowers grew to the way she managed her day. It was during one of these evenings that the woman realized something important. She had lived so long believing that her disability made her life smaller, less meaningful. But now she saw that even small acts, caring for a boy, offering shelter, speaking words of comfort, could change lives profoundly. She had power in ways she had never understood before. The week ended with a quiet ceremony of sorts in the garden. The boy had made another small arrangement of flowers, placing them beside the first one he had built. Together they stood looking at the growing garden, the colors vibrant in the sunlight.
"You've made this place feel alive," the man said.
"And not just the garden. You've made it alive for us, too." The woman felt a warmth spread through her chest. It was the first time in many years that she had felt this sense of connection, of being needed not out of pity, but out of respect and affection. That night she sat by the window watching the stars appear one by one in the dark sky. The sounds of the boy's soft breathing and the man's quiet movements filled the house. She realized that life, even with all its challenges, still offered moments of beauty, of purpose, and of hope. And in that quiet night, she made a silent promise to herself. She would continue to care, to nurture, and to give what she could, no matter how small. Because in giving, she had found something she had long thought lost: meaning. The days that followed were full of simple joys and small lessons. The boy learned to help in the garden with more confidence. The man repaired and improved parts of the house that had long been neglected, and the woman continued to discover the quiet strength within herself. Together they built a rhythm that was gentle but steady, filled with laughter, conversation, and the satisfaction of shared effort. By the time the weekend arrived, they had created a new life pattern, one that neither the woman nor the man and his son had expected. It was not permanent, but it was real, and for the first time in years, the woman felt truly alive, surrounded not by silence, but by a sense of family she had never imagined possible. Even though the shadow of departure hung over them, the ranch job was still waiting. Their days together had built something stronger than distance or time. They had built trust, friendship, and the beginnings of a bond that neither could easily forget. As she lay in bed that night, listening to the soft hum of the night outside, she realized that life's storms, both literal and figurative, could bring unexpected gifts. The knock at her door, once a startling interruption, had become the turning point in her quiet world. She closed her eyes with a gentle smile, knowing that whatever the future held, she had touched lives and been touched in return. And for her, that was enough. The morning sun came slowly over the hills, spreading golden light across the woman's small house and garden. Birds sang loudly in the trees, and the air smelled fresh, washed by the rain from the previous week. The woman moved slowly through her routine, but she felt different inside, lighter somehow, as if a weight had been lifted from her chest. She went about her chores with care, checking the plants, watering the vegetables, and straightening the small chairs on the porch. Every movement carried a sense of purpose she had not felt in years. She paused to look down the narrow road that led to her home. The boy's laughter echoed in her mind from the previous days, and she smiled. She did not have to wait long. Soon she saw a familiar figure approaching, small feet moving quickly, then the larger, steady steps of the man. They both came to the gate together, the boy waving his small hand and the man tipping his hat in a quiet greeting. "Good morning," the boy shouted, excitement in his voice. "Good morning to you both," the woman replied. She opened the gate and stepped forward to meet them. The man's eyes were bright today, and the boy's energy was contagious. It felt like a promise of a day filled with warmth and life. The boy ran ahead, pointing to the garden. "Come see what I did." Inside the garden, a new set of flowers had been planted. The boy had carefully dug small holes, placed tiny seedlings in them, and watered them with a small watering can. They were colorful and fresh, and the woman could see the effort and care he had put into every step. "You remember to water them every day," she said, kneeling beside him. "I'm proud of you." "I wanted them to grow strong," he said simply, "just like you said." The man stood a few steps away, watching with a quiet smile. "He takes advice well," he said. "Better than I do sometimes," she replied, laughing softly. For a while they worked together in the garden. The man helped carry heavier tools, and the boy focused on planting seeds and tidying the area. The woman guided them when needed, but let them try things on their own. It was a small teamwork, filled with shared effort and laughter. She realized that this routine, simple as it was, had created a bond stronger than anything she had experienced in a long time. After the work in the garden, they all went inside to have lunch. The table was simple, but filled with care. The woman had prepared bread and soup, and they shared it with soft conversation, speaking about their plans for the afternoon. "After lunch we could go to the stream," the boy suggested. "I want to see the fish." "That sounds like a good idea," the woman said. "But be careful near the water." The man nodded. "We'll stay together, don't worry." The walk to the stream was slow, filled with small stops to examine flowers or watch a bird land on a branch. The boy ran ahead at times but always stayed within sight. The man stayed near him, hands ready to catch him if he tripped, but trusting him to explore and enjoy himself. The woman followed at her own pace, taking in the beauty of the land around her. She felt connected to it in a way she never had before, part of the earth, the people, and the life around her. At the stream, the boy knelt by the water, staring at small fish swimming in the shallow current. He pointed excitedly, whispering to himself about their shapes and colors. The man watched him silently, a soft smile on his face. "You know," the man said to the woman, "he talks about you all the time at home. He tells me stories about this garden, about you teaching him things." The woman smiled. "I talk about him too. I think about how brave he was that night when he was sick." The man nodded, his eyes reflecting gratitude. "I don't know what I would have done without you." She shook her head, gently. "You would have found help somewhere. You're strong, even when you don't see it." They spent the afternoon at the stream, skipping stones and laughing when the boy's stones sank instead of skipping. The man joined him at times, and the woman quietly watched, feeling a sense of peace she had long forgotten. By the time they returned home, the sky was tinged with pink and orange, and the air carried the gentle chill of evening. Back at the house, they settled on the porch. The boy leaned against the man, his small head resting lightly on the larger shoulder. The woman sat nearby, wrapped in a light shawl. The world around them was quiet except for the soft sounds of crickets and the occasional rustle of wind through the trees. "You know," the man began after a pause, "we've been thinking about the future." The woman turned to him.
"Yes, the ranch job is real," he said. "We'll have to go eventually."
"I want you to know that." She nodded, keeping her expression calm, even as a quiet ache rose in her chest. "I understand," she said. "You have your life to live, and the boy needs you." He looked down at her, his face serious but kind. "We don't want to leave you behind. You've become part of our lives." "I hope that doesn't sound strange." "It doesn't," she said softly. "You've already changed mine." The boy looked up at her. "I don't want to leave you," he whispered. She reached out and touched his small hand. "You'll never really leave me," she said. "I'll think about you every day, and I'll care about you no matter where you go." The man nodded, grateful for her words. "And we'll come back to visit," he promised. "Even if it's just for a short time, we'll be here." The days passed quickly after that. They spent every moment together, enjoying the garden, exploring the fields, and sitting quietly on the porch. The boy grew stronger and more confident each day. He ran freely through the garden, helped with chores, and asked questions about everything he saw. The woman watched him with pride. She remembered the boy lying weak in her arms during the storm, and now he was full of energy, curiosity, and joy. She realized that the simplest acts, providing shelter, offering care, showing kindness, could have the greatest impact. The man also changed. The lines of worry on his face softened, replaced by a quiet peace. He had learned to trust someone else with his son's care, and he had found a friend in the woman who had once seemed so distant from the world. One evening, as the sun set, painting the sky in deep shades of red and gold, they all sat together on the porch. The boy lay with his head on the man's lap. The man rested his hand on the boy's shoulder, and the woman leaned back, watching the sky. "This has been the best week of my life," the boy said quietly. The woman smiled. "Mine too," she said. The man looked at her, eyes reflecting the glow of the sunset. "You've given us more than you know. Not just shelter, but hope, warmth, and care. You've made us feel safe." She felt a lump in her throat. "I didn't do much," she said softly. "You did everything," he said firmly. "You were there when we needed you most." The boy reached out and held her hand. "I'll never forget you," he said. "I'll never forget you either," she replied, squeezing his hand gently. Days turned into a week, and then the weekend arrived. The man received a call from the ranch confirming the start date for his new job. He knew the time to leave was near. He gathered the boy and walked to the woman's porch, a quiet sadness in his eyes. "I'm going to miss this place," he said. "And I'm going to miss you," she nodded, trying to keep her voice steady. "And I'll miss you both. But this isn't the end. It doesn't have to be," he said. "We'll visit, and we'll write. You'll hear from us." The boy hugged her tightly. "I wish we could stay forever," he whispered. She hugged him back, feeling the warmth of his small body, the connection they had built over so many days. "I know," she said softly. "But you'll carry this place in your heart, and I'll carry you in mine." The day they left, the woman stood at her gate, watching their truck disappear down the road. She felt a strange mix of sorrow and joy. Sorrow because she would miss them, but joy because their lives had intertwined in a meaningful way. The boy waved from the back seat, smiling, and she waved back, tears in her eyes. After they were gone, the woman returned to her house. Quiet now, but filled with a new sense of purpose. She walked through her garden, tending the plants, watering the flowers, and caring for the life she had nurtured. She realized that even in solitude, life could bring connection, love, and meaning in ways she had never imagined. In the evenings, she would sit on her porch and think about the boy and the man. She imagined them at the ranch, working, laughing, and living their new life. And she knew that the small acts of kindness she had offered, shelter, comfort, and care, had created a bond that distance could not erase. The woman's life returned to a quiet rhythm, but it was no longer empty. Her home felt full with memories, hope, and the knowledge that she had made a difference. She continued her days with a gentle strength, tending her garden, caring for herself, and holding on to the love she had received and given. And as the sun set each evening, she smiled, knowing that life, even with its challenges, could be beautiful, meaningful, and full of unexpected joy. The storm that had brought them to her door had also brought her a gift, a family, however temporary, and a reminder that kindness and courage could change lives forever. Her heart was full, her spirit lighter, and her world brighter. She had discovered the quiet power of compassion, and she knew that this new chapter of her life, shaped by courage, care, and connection, would stay with her forever.